Hi guys. So I stole a camera. My mom doesn't know, obviously, that I have the camera right now because I stole it. Like, she's not gonna care about it. I feel like right now is like the time that I want to tell you my story. I only have one. Don't mind that. I like talking about my story when no one's around, but I also feel like it could help me because I feel like I don't talk about what I went, like I'll joke around about the things that I went through, but like I don't talk about them that much, and it's just like I feel like it'd be really good for me to get it off my chest. This is gonna be hard. Let's just start off with like the basics. So I lived with my biological parents until I was 8. They were drug addicts and they neglected my brothers and I. My biological mom, she owned up to it, but my biological dad, he never really owned up to it. He always thought that he was never at fault, so it made it really difficult for him to ever just like wake up and realize that he was in the wrong. And we bounced from home to home to home, and like we'd like house hopping, and at some points like we were homeless and we would just like live in other people's houses. I don't know how to put that. I get like caught up in between like drug deals. Like I'd be in a car with my mom while she's doing drugs, or like while she's in a drug deal, and it was just really bad. So finally when I was 8, after being neglected for like the longest time, for years and years and years, I went through like physical and mental abuse at some point, like so badly. Like one time, I don't know. Maybe I should put a trigger warning, guys. I don't know how to put this. Also, like my ADHD is really bad, so like trying to answer all this stuff right now. This is probably why I need my mom to be with me while I was talking about it. But I was beaten so badly one time by my dad that I had bruises up and down like my body, like from the back, because I got in trouble or something, and they took it to extreme, and my dad hit me so hard with his bare hand that I was bruised. And I'm also trying to like watch what I say, because I know I'm not lying, but my biological dad, like he watches the YouTube videos, and I'm trying to like I don't know. I guess I'm trying to look out, like, protect him a little bit, too. Anyways, back to what I was saying. When I was 8, my grandma finally took me away from them. She got custody of us. It was temporary custody at the time. When I was taken away, it was June 2nd, 2017, right before Liam's birthday, and it was, like, the month before my birthday. It was the month of my birthday, and it was the month of Ryland's birthday, too. So, at that time, I was literally 8, and so my birthday was a big deal to me. And that was the first birthday I'd never been able to spend with my parents. It was really hard. I'm not even gonna lie, it was really hard. And I was super close with my parents. Like, even after all the things that I've been through with them, like, I loved my parents. Especially my dad. My dad was my best friend. Like, I loved my dad. My dad was always in and out of my life. It was always my mom and my brothers and I, but my dad would be in and out of my life because he was so knocked up on drugs. Like, they could never like keep a relationship going, so sometimes he would like end up living in like the mountains and stuff like that, and just like they would always be fighting, get back together, be fighting. Like, it was just a big mess. And so he was already out of the picture when I was taken away from my mom. And so 3 days after I was taken away from my mom, she moved. She moved into a different state. Like, it was nothing. She started a whole new life up there. So I was mad at her. Because, like, imagine all the emotions I was feeling. Like, I was a little girl who had just lost her mom and dad. And I was trying to protect my brothers. Like, that's always what, since I was 4. Since I was 4, I've been protecting my little brothers, because that's Brylan and I are 4 years apart, and that's what the day I became a mother. My mom started her own life with another family. She had another child. My dad started his own life. They were both in a different state, and so I had my grandma. So that's where we get into my story with my grandma. My grandma's story is a little bit longer. And I also remember a lot more of my grandma's story because I was older. I got with my grandma when I was 8. And things were good at first, right? And she was married to another man, right? And he was like my mom's stepdad. They were like on and off. My life has always been like crazy, but it was pretty like normal-ish until like up until this point. And so they were married. They had recently got married like a year before I came to live, like a year or two before I came to live with them. Things were good, but then he just couldn't handle my brothers and I. We were 3 children. We were 8, 3, and 2, I'm pretty sure, or 3 and 4, something like that. I can't remember. But so we were a lot to handle, and he just couldn't handle it. So he left my grandma, or no, he cheated on my grandma, not left her. And so that caused her to become really, really depressed. And watching that was awful. And she stopped eating. Like, she lost a lot of weight. Like, a lot of weight. A lot. And she started drinking her life away. Like, it was bad. And my relationship with my dad was really, really good. Like, he was my best friend. But my grandma was, like, my person. Like, it was like so crazy how close I was with my grandma. And so watching that happen was awful. And like seeing the way that she would treat my brothers and I after like she started drinking her life away, that was awful. Because it's like watching your best friend like just become a monster. It was so bad. So she was drinking and drinking and drinking, and she just became so mean and just like mentally abusive. And like she would just tell me things like when she'd get upset with me because I don't like I wouldn't watch a TV show with her because she was just being mean or something like that. She'd be like, okay, I'm gonna call like DCS on you and blah blah blah, or like I'm gonna call and tell them to put you back in foster home. And she'd just threaten me all the time. And it was just so bad. So I had to deal with that for 3 years, all this mental abuse. And at that time, this is something I don't really talk about with just anyone, but I feel like I can open up, and I should open up, which is why I'm doing this. And I don't know, I feel like it'd be good, like I said in the beginning. But anyways, so at that time, around 5th grade, I developed some really bad eating problems. Like because she would mentally abuse me, right? And she'd say things about my body, or she'd say things about her body, and it made me insecure about my body. And so I started developing really bad eating habits, and I would only eat salads for I'd eat like 3 salads for the whole entire week. And I called that a meal. And then it just progressively got worse to the point where I would buy a salad for lunch, but I wouldn't eat it. I would just throw it away. So it got to the point where I wasn't eating that much. Like, I would come home and I'd snack on, like, one thing, and I'd call it good for, like, a couple of days. And it was really bad. So that was, like, the peak at my, like, or that was, like, the rise of my eating problems, which we'll get into, like, later. But now I gotta tell you about when my grandma got remarried. Because this is when it gets bad, guys. This is probably, like, the worst years of my life. So, year 3, my grandma gets married. And for some reason, from the start, I just knew this guy was not good. Like, he'd come into my home, because she met him on a dating website. And he'd come into my house, and I would not feel comfortable or anything. Like, and I feel like he tried to buy his way into my life. And so, I just never liked him. They got engaged after a month of dating. After, I think it was like 3 months of them dating, they got married, and we moved into his house. We packed up everything, just left my house that I lived in for 3 years. And keep in mind, I have adjustment disorder, which is a disorder meaning, like, you were really bad at change. Like, that's just to sum it up. Like, I'm really, really, really bad at change. So it, like, messes with my head really badly, and, like, what's the word? I act out. Like, I have an episode. So when we moved in with him, it was so bad. Like, I wouldn't really come out of my room. It was so bad. Then finally, like, finally, like, it was fine. Like, then I, like, got used to it. It was, like, a month or two, I got used to it. And as soon as I started getting used to it, they start fighting. And it would always, like, start off with, like, something super stupid. Like, one time they got into a fight because he forgot their anniversary, and it escalated so much to the point where he was beating her so badly. Like, so, and, like, I would always end up seeing it. And so, when I finally got used to, like, being around them, or, like, being, like, got used to him, we started developing, like, this really, really bad bond. Like, it was so bad. We hated each other. Like, we just always had it out for each other. And then they started fighting, and sometimes I would be, because of me, because my grandma would be trying to defend me, and he just wouldn't be okay with it. Then it escalated from, like, verbal arguments to physical arguments, where he would start beating the crap out of her so badly he broke a bunch of bones of hers. He was really toxic and manipulative. He literally made her cut off all of our family. So we had a big family at first, and it ended up just being the 5 of us: her, him, and my brothers and I. So I really had to step up my game with being a mom, because my grandma was still an alcoholic at this point. They were both major alcoholics. So I was the mom. I always had to care for my siblings. I would always have to protect them from, like, watching my grandma get the crap beat out of her. It was bad. Hearing her cry and just, like, scream out for my name, and just, like, hearing the things that he would say to her was really, really, really bad. Like, he would threaten her, like, badly sometimes. And so that was traumatizing. And I had to deal with that for a year and a half. And then in 2020, that's when things started getting really bad. Like, my grandma started getting really depressed because she was beaten so much. And he would, like, kick us out of the house all the time. Like, we would be in hotels almost every other week for weeks at a time too. And just, like, then he would gaslight her into, like, coming back, like, manipulate her, tell her, like, all these things that she wants to hear. And she was depressed, and she was an alcoholic, and all kinds of things. So obviously she fell for it, and she was in love with him. I don't know why. Like, after all the things that he did to her, I don't know why she would still, like, be okay with going back to him. But she did. So we would come back, and the same thing would happen over and over and over again. And then it just, months and months of her just getting the crappy out of her, getting kicked out, like, all this mental abuse and physical abuse towards her. She became crazy. And that's when she started physically abusing me and my brothers. I'm trying not to talk too much about my brothers, because that's their story, and I don't want to, like, expose their story, because it's not my place. But yeah, she would get physically and mentally, it was really badly physically and mentally abusive towards me, but, like, it would happen towards my brothers too. And then I feel like Rylan got it the worst, or somewhat. Like, Rylan and I probably split it. My grandma always babied Liam, because, like, he was the baby of our family. Like, she didn't want to ever hurt him. Like, she was never ever mean to him. So he got it. He didn't get it good. Don't mistake my words. He did not get it good. Like, everything that we went through was not good. And, like, he also witnessed things, and he would always get, like, in trouble for, like, bad, like, stupid things. But, like, Rylan, they hated Rylan for no reason. Like, it was so bad. They would just say all these really, really, really mean things to him. And so I had to be, like, the one to step up and, like, be nicer. Like, I loved my brothers, so that's not, like, me, like, having to, like, that was just me, like, you know. I was getting mentally abused really badly by the both of them, by my grandma and her husband. And so that's when, like, I didn't eat that much, and I lost a lot of weight, especially during quarantine, like, an unhealthy amount of weight. And I was always checking the scale. Like, it became an addiction to check the scale and see how much I weighed, because I've always had, like, a really bad body image. Like, even, like, when I lived with my biological parents, like, 8 and younger, I still struggled so badly with body image. I would always call myself ugly and just say I was fat and stuff like that. But then in quarantine, he would make, like, my grandma's husband would make these jokes about my body and just the way that I looked. And so I, like, became really, really insecure. July 17th of 2020, they got into a really bad argument. Like, really bad. And my grandma was drunk, 'cause she was always drunk. And he was just telling us to get out of the house again. And then he told her, he was like, I just hope you, like, yourself. And then he pulled out a rope from his work truck and he tied it. He tied it up, and I watched the whole entire thing, and she tempted. But I had to talk her out of it, and thankfully, because I talked her out of it 3 separate times, she's still alive. Or from what I know of, because I haven't talked to her in years. Or like 3 years now. Almost 3 years. But from what I know of, she's alive still. And it's because I talked her out of it. At the age of 12, I had to talk my grandma out of it. She literally, she was mid pulling it over her neck, and she was about to jump off a ledge, and I had to talk her out of it. And so I'm crying. I'm, like, bawling my eyeballs out. She can barely comprehend what I'm even saying. And I'm like, Grandma, like, this is, like, I'm done. This has got to end. And so we were gonna leave, but her husband, being the way that he was, he took away her keys and her phone, so we couldn't leave. But I wasn't about to put my brothers through, like, being in that household ever again. Because, like, I was even manipulated into staying with them. Like, my grandma, the day that I was adopted by my grandma, she, like, literally threatened me. She was like, don't ruin this for me. Like, no, not, like, she threatened me, but she also, like, guilt tripped me really badly. And she was like, don't ruin this for me. Like, this is all I've ever wanted, blah, blah. Like, just made me feel so bad. And she, like, forced me to be okay with them changing their last names, even though I never wanted them to change their last names to begin with. And so that was just really bad. And so I was done. I was so done with all the mental and physical abuse towards all of us. And I said, Grandma, if we don't leave together right now, I will be leaving with the boys. And she was like, okay, like, we'll go, we'll leave. She was like, I just need to get my keys real quick, blah, blah, blah. So we packed all of our stuff, and we were about to leave. And then her husband, being the way that he was, he manipulated her into staying. So I took my brothers, and I ran away from home. I had a friend that lived down the street, and she had literally lived in somewhere up in Arizona. I can't remember. She lived up somewhere else in Arizona for like a year or two, and then they moved back down into the house that was down the street from us, just so they can build a new house somewhere else in, I think, Phoenix, something like that. And so they had literally just moved in that week, and it was convenient because that was the week that, like, I ran away and I needed somewhere to be. So I literally walked down the street and I asked them if, like, I could stay. And then things happened that night, things that I don't really feel, like, comfortable talking about. I lived with them for 7 months, and it wasn't good. It was not any better. Like, it wasn't any better. I wouldn't say it was, like, worse, but it was really bad, and it was at that spectrum. That is when my eating got really, really, really bad. I never came out of my room. I slept 20 out of 24 hours a day, because it was during the summer, and it was during quarantine, so we didn't even have school. And so I would sleep all day, wouldn't eat for a week, didn't drink water. I became super unhealthy and skinny. It was bad. It was really bad. My brothers were getting bullied in the household by the other kids, because they had a lot of kids, and it was just so bad. And I was getting mentally abused so badly. Like, they would make comments about my body, about how, like, they would comment about how skinny I was, and they'd be like, go eat a burger, go eat some pizza. Just, like, they'd call me twig. They just say all these really, really mean things about my body, and I'd already had, like, really bad body dysmorphia because I thought I was so big. Like, I thought I was so big, and so I was just so confused on what, like, to believe, because I didn't know what to believe, if I was big or if I was super tiny. But yeah, so I just wouldn't come out, like, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I fell off from my brothers a little bit. Because I was so depressed, I couldn't even make it out of bed. Like, it was so bad. And then one day, like, I didn't talk to, like, the girl that I shared the room with for months because of how angry I was with her, the way that she would talk about me to her mom and just make up these lies about me and all kinds of things, and we just always fight. 'Cause they were just awful. They were so awful. They never treated me like I was supposed to be there. They treated me like such an outsider. So finally, like, I reached out for help because it came up to the time where they were supposed to be moving, and they had custody of us at the time, and so I would have been moving with them. And then I would have been moving to a place where I had no one. I didn't know anyone. So I wouldn't have anywhere to go if something happened, if, like, it just got to the point. So I finally reached out for help. I reached out to, like, 2 people. The first person told me, sorry, like, I can't do anything about it. Which sucked. Hearing that was awful, because in reality, if it was just me, I would have been able to deal with it. But it was my brothers that I was worried about. And if anything had happened to them, and if they were still getting bullied, and, like, the way that it was just so bad for them, I had to get out. So then I asked someone else. It was one of my friends. It was one of my really good friends. I spent the night at her house, right? And I was just telling her how awful it was at where I was living, just my living situation. I told her everything that happened and how I just couldn't do it anymore. She was like, she sat me down. She was like, Bella, she was like, I can probably take you in. My mom would be so willing. She's always wanted a big family, and she just told me all these possibilities. She went up to her mom the next morning while I was sleeping, because I slept in every single day when I lived there, because I was just like, it was just my way of coping. That's how I so I was sleep. It was like 3:00 in the afternoon, and I get woken up, and they're like, we're okay with taking you, like, there's no reason for you to be living in that kind of situation and stuff like that. So I went out to dinner with them. They gave me some money, and, like, I felt so bad for taking their money, but I spent it on my brothers because they needed food, because they didn't feed us. Like, they would go out every week or, like, every day and go get food for themselves, but never bring anything back for my brothers and I. So that's also part of the reason why we didn't really eat. So I spent it on my brothers. And then maybe a week later, my DCS caseworker wakes me up. It's 1:00 in the afternoon. They wake me up, and they're like, basically what they said is just, like, things weren't working out, and, like, they said the people I was living with made up these lies about Rylan and Liam, or Rylan specifically said he was being, like, hostile and all kinds of aggressive. Rylan would never hurt a fly. Like, that's what irritates me so badly. He wouldn't even hurt a fly, and they made up all these lies about him. But they were like, pack your bags, you gotta go. So, this day was the worst day of my life. Like, even watching my grandma, like, that wasn't even that bad. It was the day that I was separated from Rylan. It was December 9th, 2020. Okay, and they told us to pack our bags because we were getting sent away to a group home. And, like, that was always my biggest fear, is, like, being put into the foster system and, like, getting separated from my brothers, and that my fear came true. So we're in the car, we're just driving, and mind you, I didn't get to say goodbye to anyone. I didn't get to say goodbye to any of my friends. I never, like, got a proper goodbye. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a phone for those months that I was with them, because, like, when I lived with my grandparents, they would take it away, and at the time when I ran away, I had it taken away. And so I just didn't have a phone, and I didn't get to say goodbye to my best friends. I didn't get to, like, it was just in the moment. I got ripped away, and we're heading to the group home, and my caseworker looks at me, and she's like, so there wasn't enough room, or no, it wasn't enough. That's what they told me at the time, but there was enough room. it was because they lied about how Rylan behaved, and so they put him in a different group home because he was aggressive and they wanted to monitor how he acted. But that's not what they told us. They did not tell us that. So we got separated, and that was, oh, that was the worst day of my life. Because Rylan and Liam have been my children, like, all my life. They've been my best friends. And just, like, not having him, and just, like, that was so bad. And watching Liam become so depressed because they had never spent a day away from each other. They were tied by the hip. They were each other's best friends, and watching Liam and Rylan just, like, become depressed was so bad. So we were in the group home for 7 months, and the first couple months, I think it was like a month or two, I had no contact with Rylan. Like, we didn't call him because we weren't allowed to, or like we just fell out of contact, something like that. I don't remember quite well. Sometimes like I forget about the bad things that happened to us because that's how I cope. And so we didn't call for like a month or two, and then finally like he called and he was just crying, like over the phone. He was crying so badly. He was saying all these things that had happened to him in the group home and how poorly he was getting treated and how much he missed us. It was so sad. So finally, like, I was pushing. I had already been pushing to see my brother, but like I was on it. I was like we need our brother back. And Liam would like act out, and like he'd have all these episodes say I wouldn't care about him because how much he missed Rylan, and he didn't realize how he was acting, but like it was so obvious he was just really missing Rylan. Finally, after 4 months of being separated, we got our first visit. After 4 months. I didn't get to see my brother for 4 months. So our first visit was because we were going to get set with another foster family. And it was convenient because this foster family was like people I already knew. They were my softball coaches. And we had a visit with them. We stayed 3 nights with them. And then they brought us back up, and we were supposed to have another visit with them the next week. And we were so excited. We were so excited to see each other. We were so excited to finally like have a home. And then they canceled on us. Like, we got our hopes up, and then it was just destroyed. It was over the weekend, so my caseworker wasn't in, so I had to wait until the weekday to call. And I was like why? Like, why did it get canceled? And they were like, so. She was like, my caseworker was like, it's not gonna work out. They said that there was some alarming things, and just they like thought they were ready to have you guys, but they just can't. And I was like, it's cool. Thanks for getting our hopes up, but it's fine. So then we didn't have visitations for a couple weeks. Finally, we got visitations. And then after like 3 more visitations, finally, my brother, like Rylan, was put into the group home, the same group home as us. At that time, I was depressed. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Like, I was so depressed. I didn't eat ever. I was really questioning everything. I was so angry with the world because, like, I just didn't understand, like, why I had to go through all this. Why my brothers had to go through all this. And then after 3 months of them just being in the group home and us having to deal with all the crap that was going on in the group home, just like it was absolute crap. Like, being in the group home was one of the I feel like there's been so many things I've been through, and just like being in the group home was really hard too. Really, really, really hard. Especially because in our heads we didn't think we were ever gonna get home. Like, we never thought we were going to get out of the group home until I was 18, and then I was going to adopt my brothers. And then finally, one day we get a call, and it's my my caseworker. She's like, Bella, I know you really, really want to go back to Kingman, which is where I originally lived. And she was like, I know you want to go back to Kingman, but, like, we have this really good family for you. And at first I was like, no, sorry, no. Like, Kingman's my home. Like, I hated being away from Kingman, and that's where I wanted to go back. And I was just so sad. I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to go with them. She was like, just have one visit with them. Like, just see where it is, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, fine. Because I was also thinking about my brothers, and I was like, they need to get out. Like, this is destroying them, and they need to get out. And so I was like, as much as it, like, might hurt me, I need to do it for my brothers. So I went on one visit with them.
So today is the first day that we are meeting our new kids, and I'm super excited. I am too. I'm nervous, and I just hope that everything goes smooth. So here we go. Are you guys excited?
I'm super excited.
So tell us about these kids.
So,
We don't know. We've never met.
Liam.
Liam?
Okay.
What's their name?
There's 3 kids. There's Bella, Ryland, and Liam. So
We're excited. Let's do this.
Which was my mom and dad. And I never thought I was going to get my mind changed ever. Like, ever. And, like, if you know me, like, I am so stubborn. So I never thought I was going to, like, have my mind changed. But I loved my mom and dad, like, right off the bat. Like, there was just something about how, like, happy and, like smiley my mom was, and how caring my dad is, and just, like, them. And so they were like, let us take you out for, like, your birthday tomorrow. Or for your birthday tomorrow. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So we went out for my birthday. I met the whole entire family, and they were just, dude, they were just so happy to see us. There was just something about, like, how happy they were, and just, like, excited to have us a part of their family. And then my mom asked us to be adopted, and I don't think I even remember, like, I don't think I actually, like, thought about it. I think right off the bat I was like, yes, like, I'm okay with it. Because I love my family. Like, I love my family so much. And I love my mom and dad so much. And I'm so grateful for them. Like, they're my saviors. They're my heroes.
I just got off an amazing phone call, and I found out that we get our 3 new kids tomorrow. We get to pick them up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So we're going to spend the rest of the day putting beds together and their rooms together.
I was like, that just made my checklist, like,
alright, huge.
way bigger.
But our forever kids are coming too.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Me too.
I just wanted to pick them up today.
I didn't want to
don't
drop
wanna
them
wait.
off back at the group home when we did our visit. I was like, I can't drop them back off. But tomorrow.
That's awesome. Do we have like a time set up?
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
Literally, I think it was 2 days after that visitation with them, we literally moved in with them. Like, it was that fast. They wanted us, like, they got us that fast because they wanted us so badly. So we finally get here. Things are good, but also keep in mind, at the time I had really bad anxiety, like social anxiety, and I was depressed. So, like, it was really hard for me to open up to them, and so I still kept to myself. Like, I wasn't like me right now. I wasn't like me right now at all. Like, the way you saw me on camera a few months ago, it was way worse. I just didn't really talk. But then my mom, she was just like, I don't know how to put it, just like, she pushed me, but in a good way, like a good push, like a slow push, like a slowly rising push, and it helped me so much, and I'm so thankful for that. And so now I'm like so like comfortable with my family. Like, it's like I've lived with them for like my whole entire life. And so things were good. Like, things were like slow in the beginning, but then I went to my new school, this school. This is a whole different thing, guys. So, I was emo, so I had like a grunge style, and I was also like so like depressed and like had trauma that I was going through. The way that I was feeling kind of portrayed like on my wardrobe and how I dressed. So you could tell I was sad. Like you could tell I was like going through it. And just like the way that I walked around the school and just you could tell I didn't want to be there because those were my friends. Like I didn't grow up with those people because I lived in Kingman until I was 13. From like when I was a newborn to when I was 13. I went to the same school for 10 years. Like, those were my people. I considered those my family. So, I didn't want to be at this new school. Like, no. It was just not even, like, no. It was, like, from the beginning, I wanted to go online. And, like, the first month of school, I made one friend. Or the first week of school, I made one friend, which was Bryce, who is, he's, like, my brother. And you guys have seen him before. He's the one I went to Winfo with. What's it called? He was my first friend in general at that school, but like we weren't close. Like we never really actually hung out. We were just like we would talk in class, and then that was it. But then like drama happened with my friend group in October, and literally like the beginning of November, he was like, "Hey, like come like hang out with my friends and I," and so I did. And then, so then I started hanging out with them at lunch after the drama because then I didn't have those friends. And then, progressively, I started making more and more friends. But as I was making friends, I was also making enemies. So basically, there was a group of boys in that friend group. And they would always pick on me for the way that I dressed. They would call me, like, they would make fun of my nose piercing, which is why I took it out. They would call me like a bull and they'd shine like a red thing at me and they'd tell me to charge, that wasn't fun. They'd tell me like some really rude things that probably aren't gonna make it onto YouTube, and they just like they basically told me that they didn't want me to be there, but in like meaner words, and so that really hurt me. And so I became like a little bit more depressed, and so I went through months of trying to figure out who I was and being angry at the whole entire world because I was still dealing with trauma from like everything I went through while I'm trying to make friends at a new school, and just like I was just so angry at the world, and so, like it was bad. Then finally around like February, I started making some really good friends. I made a really good group of friends. And then I think during the summer is when I started hanging out with everyone. Like, people dropped the emo thing. Because I would still get called emo for, like, months. Like, that whole entire school year. All of my freshman year, I got called emo. And, like, I'd get bullied still. And then finally, over the summer, like, people dropped it. Like, they didn't see me as, like, that girl. Which is something I really appreciate about my friends now. So they didn't see me as the emo girl. They didn't see me as, like, the girl I used to be, the depressed girl, the one that had went through all kinds of stuff. Because literally someone straight up told me, they were like, last year, I literally could tell that you were depressed, but now I would never be able to tell, like, you had ever gone through something. So it really shows how much you have to fake a smile to get through a day or get through, like, life or high school, which is really, really sad. And if you're going through stuff like that, like, I'm so sorry, because me going through that, that was hard. They dropped the emo thing, and they started seeing me for who I was. They started seeing me as the goofy girl that just, like, is always trying to make people laugh, and they saw me for me. And I really appreciate that about my friends. And I have a big group of good friends, people I, like, made sure that were right for me. And I pushed all the fake people away, the people who were trying to be a part of my life or were a part of my life for a little bit, for that time being. I made my big group of friends, and those are my real friends, and those are my people. My social life now is way better than it was last year. Currently, like, in this moment, is perfect in my eyes. I have my dog. I have a really good home life. Like, I'm really close with all my family. Really good with really good with my parents, my siblings, my brothers, of course. I have a great boyfriend. Like, everything's really good right now. And I feel like if I didn't have that push, like, yeah, I'm mad that I had to leave Kingman. I had to leave my best friend in Kingman. But if I didn't have that push and I didn't ever come to live with my parents, like, I wouldn't be here where I am now. Like, I would probably still be in the group home. So I'm thankful. Something that I feel like needs to be talked about, I feel like gratitude gets taken for granted sometimes. And I know my brothers are, and I know, like, my siblings who were previously adopted are super thankful for what we have. So I just wanted to speak for them for a second and speak for myself. But also, there was something else that I looked through the comments, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I look through the comments and I see all the hate ones and they hurt me. So I just feel like something that should be talked about too. Words hurt. Words hurt really, really bad. The DMs I get, the comments on my TikToks, the comments on the YouTube, they hurt, bro. So just be careful what you say, because you really don't know what people are going through. You might see something on YouTube and be like, ugh. But, like, I know this isn't going to stop anyone, but, like, just keep it in your head, bro. Words hurt. And you don't want to hurt anyone more than they're already hurting. I don't even know if this is going to make it on the YouTube channel, but I just wanted to rant, and I'm kind of glad I did because, yeah. But, yeah, anyways, so I do struggle with mental health still. Like, it's not just going to get pushed to the side, because all the stuff that I went through still was, like, the bullying in school, that was literally just, like, a few months ago, like, at the beginning, or the end of last school year, and, like, beginning of last school year, and I was still in the group home last year, so, like, I'm still struggling with all my traumatic events and stuff, but, like, in the moment right now, things are so much better. So that's also a lesson, because you can go through the worst things ever in life and you can still better yourself from them. And that's, like, my thing. That's also, like, something that I better myself for my brothers. That's my only goal in life, is to be a good role model for them. My only goal in life is to be the best role model for them, to show them that what we grew up in doesn't have to define us.
Too many days in the darkness, without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up.
We're doing good!
See you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eyes. Every part of you wants to surrender, darling. You were meant to survive. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head. Just like a seed in a garden, you will grow to be tall, staring out